I am a Holocaust survivor. I'm going to tell you a story which is not a story. It is a true story, my story. It's not nice, but we have to know about it. I have to teach about it because our time is running out. I am just about the youngest Holocaust survivors nowadays. There are not too many survived at my age. The story goes like this. When I was 16, the Germans occupied Hungary, which was then my country, and with that, they occupied my city, where I lived with my mother, an older brother, an older sister, and my little baby sister who was 13. Unfortunately, my father passed away at a very young age. He was killed in a tornado. So my dear mother had to work very hard to support 4 kids. We were all in school still. And it was not an easy life. But we were happy. We had our relatives, cousins, aunts, uncles, like every of your families has. My youth at 16 was definitely interrupted. It came to an end to have all the boys around me. It came to an end to having fun. Unfortunately, the Germans gave different orders in the time. The first, the curfew. After the curfew, the yellow star, which was identifying us as Jews. And it happens that because you are somehow different from everybody else wearing that star, your friend of yesterday becomes your enemy. And the girl I grew up with from next door, and we were all the time very close friends, one day when I was walking down on our street and I said hello to her, instead of saying hello, she spit at me, kicked me, and ran away. I had to get used to it, that I'm not the same person as I was yesterday. 2 weeks later, the German gave the order that we have to pack 40 pounds, about 20 kilos, personal belongings, food, and we were marched in to the ghetto, leaving everything behind what my mother and father worked for. I can see it today, my mother's face, when she handed the key of her home over to the policeman who escorted us to the ghetto. I didn't have the same feeling. I didn't know what I was expecting, what was happening. Evidently, she knew more, but with all that, there was not a tear in her eye. She wanted to show us her courage and encourage us. About 2 weeks later again, from the ghetto, we had to pack again, and this time we were escorted to the railroad station, which was very close by to the ghetto. When we got there, all we saw is long line of cattle cars, plain box cars, nothing in it but 2 buckets, nothing on the floor, and they pushed us in, squeezed us in like cattle, about 60, 70, what I understand, sometimes 80 people into one wagon. Now, with that, you have no time and nothing to think about, just stand there, because the young people like me, we had to give up the room for the people who could not stand for the 3-day journey. Nursing mothers, old grandfathers and grandmothers. So for the 3 days, we stood in the wagon, and after 3 days, arrived in Auschwitz. Anybody heard of Auschwitz? Did you learn about Auschwitz? Good. That's where I ended up with my family. Auschwitz was the biggest and the worst concentration camp. However, it was extermination camp. No other camp in Germany have been killing people like it was done in Auschwitz. There was a time in 1944 when the number of the prisoners in Auschwitz reached 150,000. To me, that number, after my little city of 40,000, was enormous. There were many camps. We saw, as we were embarking from the cattle car, we saw the lights, we saw the barbed wire, but we didn't know what is expecting us. We got out. We were lined up in 2 columns, one for the man, one for the woman. And as we were walking, I was holding my mother's hand, next to her on the other side, my little sister. We were walking the so-called selection line, which consisted of making decision by the German soldier or by the German doctor to make the decision who is going to live or who is going to die. So by the time we got to the table where they were sitting, one of them was standing. He approached us. He took my arm, yanked on it, pulled me away from my mother and my sister, pushed me to the right side by pushing my mother and sister to the left side. I was meant to live. They were going straight to be killed. Little did I know about it. I never had a chance to say goodbye. After we started walking, we got into a huge room, and we were told to get undressed completely. We could use our shoes, and that was it, no more. I will have to tell you that in 1944, things were not as it is today. For me to get undressed in front of my mother at 16, I was ashamed. This is 21st century. We see how we dress in the United States. So when I had to get undressed in front of all the women, I was ashamed. I didn't know how to hide myself. Later on top of everything, the German soldiers were walking between us, looking at us, some of them even touching, and we were horrified. We were petrified. How? And you know, all of us, I think we were about 1,000 women in one room, all of us started to cover ourselves. Where do you cover first? It was a terrible trauma. The second trauma, we had to sit down on the benches, and in 2 seconds we were shaved. Head, hair, and body. Now we were standing bald-headed, all of us, looking at each other. It's a horror. And then we got the uniforms. A gray, straight sheet dress, no panties and no bras. We were all naked underneath. This is the way we were marching toward our barracks. Mr. Kalin, yes, we have the picture. Where is the envelope?
Oh, well, you know what? I have it.
Yes, I have it.
Well, we actually have, hold on.
Ah. See, this is when they come. It must be in the office.
What's in the office? Okay. We'll show this one, because this is the one you were going to show, right?
Okay, I'm going to show you. This is the moment when we were walking out from the so-called disinfectant bath where we were shaved and got our uniforms. These are, you can see they all the same uniforms. That's me. This is my cousin who was with me all the year. No hair. The only thing you can tell that it's me because I have the same hairline.
Now, this looks really familiar to them, Mrs. Lebovic, because Miss Barney, another teacher here who was studying the Holocaust, she ordered a set of 12 pictures. Oh. 12 pictures. We just ordered 12 pictures, came with those pictures I showed you. One of the 12 pictures that we ordered was Mrs. Lebovic hours after she arrived at Auschwitz. I mean, isn't that like unbelievable?
But
and they've all seen this. So they've seen this picture before. They didn't know it was you, though, until today.
But so beside that, this same picture, for some reason, maybe because it's so close up, and it's all the girls walking out from the bath, is in the Holocaust Museum in Washington. There is the big exhibit, almost the wall, the size of a wall. It is in the Los Angeles Tolerance Museum. The same picture is exhibited. It is, I have a nephew who lives in Houston. I went to visit him and he said, would you like to visit our new Holocaust museum? I said, I would definitely like to see it. So we all went to the museum. Here I am. There is the picture. Everywhere, everywhere.
And last year,
New York.
When Ms. Lebovic walked with us last year, we did our walk for Darfur. I called Ms. Lebovic. I said, I told her about it. She goes, you tell me when, I'll be there. And our school did it, and she walked with us. And she brought another Holocaust survivor. That exact same day, by another sheer coincidence, Oprah had her show about the Holocaust. And on Oprah's show, that picture was there. So while Ms. Lebovic was walking with us, her picture was being shown to millions of people.
It is, as I see, most probably because the album this was taken out of has about 140 pictures. And this is the one they're using the most. This one and a very similar immense group also is the same one. Anyhow, going back, we had our place in a barrack, about 600 women to one barrack. We were sleeping on the floor. We had no blanket. We had no pillow. We had no mattress. The bowl we drank our coffee and our soup was assigned for 5 to 10 people to use the same. The first day we arrived and all this was new. All this was hard to understand. Next day at 4:30, we were lined up to do roll call. They were counting us for hours. But let me tell you, Poland, North Poland, is so cold at 4:30 in the morning that we were freezing. 4:30 in the morning, we were trying to squeeze together so we won't be so cold. And this is my most nicest part of my story, when I make everybody laugh, because we didn't laugh so much in Auschwitz. But as we were trying to keep ourselves warm, and for some reason it's your head without hair that you're not used to. You are used to it. I wasn't. One of the smart girls between the 600, she finally couldn't take it. She picked up her dress and lifted up and pulled it over her head and her arms. And right away, all 600 of us did the same thing. Okay, come on, use your imagination, what happened? You know, we were standing there and 600 of us looking at each other, all naked on the bottom. Not a beautiful sight, but it was. It gave us a very good laugh. We were giggling, we were laughing because it was funny. It was funny when you stand and you see nothing else in front of you but the behind. And also something else. Somebody said, we fooled the German. Yes, we did fool the German. We were not cold. And it happened after that every day. For the 3 weeks I was in Auschwitz, we did the same thing. And to be sure that by the time the German came to count us, the first girl in the first row would see how they come from the opposite direction. So she would say, "Now!" I'm sorry. And we all pulled our undress, and we were standing in attention, and we were safe. Nobody punished us, nobody did anything to us. When I'm talking to you, this is about the nicest I can tell you. That was the reason I didn't want to come to talk to small children, remember?
Right, yeah. Originally, Ms. Lebovic had never spoken to a fifth grade.
I never spoke in front of fifth and sixth graders. I didn't have the heart to tell you how sad a story can be. Auschwitz was only 3 weeks for me, and I consider myself very lucky. After 3 weeks, I was taken to Hamburg. That's the furthest point in Germany. It's the biggest port in Germany. But when we arrived, they changed our dresses to an overall. It looked a little better. It was a little warmer. And when we arrived to the camp in Hamburg, when we went into the rooms, we thought we are in paradise. Each of us had a bunk bed, my own blanket, my own bowl and coffee mug, which was great. This we didn't have in Auschwitz, so at least we saw that we're going to have a little better change. At that point, we heard already stories that my siblings, I didn't know where they were, but they told me that my mother and my little sister were killed, that I should not expect anything. I shouldn't have any hope, but without hope you don't live. I hoped, and I did everything like she told me. I followed her advice. Be obedient, be good. You have to remember and tell me everything about it once we get home and we meet again. And for some reason, it kept me going. It kept reminding me that I have to take whatever and however I can. In Hamburg, the work was bad, was strenuous, but we had enough to eat. They fed us enough so we can survive. The work what we did, every single morning on a special tramway, they took us into the city. Hamburg, the city of Hamburg, was terribly bombed day and night. At noon, the American Air Force. At night, the British Air Force. And the people had no room, no houses where to live. Everything was bombed out. So finally, we were the ones who started cleaning up, getting the brick cleaned up, and rebuild homes. This was our task. This was what we had to do. I became 17 in Hamburg. And I'm saying this and I'm telling you this because I want you to know that with all the bad, with all the harm the German did to me, by losing my mother, using 17 members of my family, immediate family, I want to tell you that even the worst German sometime has a human feeling. I became 17, and my cousin, she was the one who let everybody know that it's my birthday. I was the youngest in the camp. And at night when we got home, I was presented with a birthday cake. Now, don't you go thinking that I really had a birthday cake. There was no cake. The girls gave up they black bread, one slice of black bread. And between so many of them, but they gave up, they piled up the black bread slices in a nice high birthday cake. In between there was some margarine, and on top, the icing was one little piece of red beet, like marmalade. That was our jam, and that was the icing on my cake. Now, you have to understand that when you have one slice of bread a day, it's not easy to give it up. But I did get a little bit of everybody, so I have my cake. While we were having fun, the door opened, and the SS walked in on us. Our German commander, camp commander, and we all froze. We were scared. What's going to happen? We were not allowed to talk after 8 o'clock. We were supposed to be in bed. However, I took courage and I told him that this is my birthday. I'm responsible for this. And that's all. We're celebrating my birthday. So he left, didn't say anything and left. Well, we were even more happier. Come on, we didn't get punished. And 5 minutes later, he walked back to the room and came straight to me and handed me an apple. This is for your birthday. I was afraid to take the apple, but I did. And then with a knife, 16 pieces were cut from the apple. That was the first fruit, the first apple I have seen after 9 months. We all chewed on it for a long while to feel the taste and to chew on it because it was great. And mainly that we did not get punished. However, as much as I was happy that this German, who's supposed to be a monster, had one moment of human feeling, because 3 weeks later, he beat me up. The same person. I went stealing potato peel. There was a sickness going between us. A lot of the girls had diarrhea. And we did not have any medication. The German did not give any medication. But one of the ladies who used to be a nurse, she said, well, we have to get hold of some potato peel because the potato peel have so much starch, it will help to stop the diarrhea. Sure enough, 3 girls, we went behind the kitchen, and from the garbage can, we started to bring out some potato peel. Well, I was the clumsiest, evidently, because I was the only one who was cut. And he said, well, you were not supposed to go out from the room. You're not supposed to steal. So you're going to get your punishment. And I got 25 on my back, and I was hurt for quite a while. So you see, the same person can be good in a minute, and then he can be very bad. Auschwitz, Hamburg, but by end of February, we were taken to Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen was one of the worst camps in Germany because it was so far out in the west. Most of the small camps were being evacuated to Bergen-Belsen. So by the time I got there, it was so overcrowded that the Germans said, well, you go and find a place where to stay, where to sleep, because the camp is overcrowded. And as I was walking into the camp, somebody called my name. I looked at her and I did not recognize her. But she said, you are Lydia. I said, yes, I'm Lydia. So where did you come from? I haven't seen you here before. I said, I'm just coming from Hamburg with a transport. And she goes, oh my God. And I said, what is it? Your sister is here. Come on, I'll take you to your sister. My older sister, who has been for a year, I didn't know where, was in the same camp. So she took me to the barrack, Everybody was sitting on the floor. There were no cots, no beds, nothing. And as I walked in, I started to look. So where is she? Who is she? Where is she? So finally, I go toward where she was pushing me, and I see her on the floor. And like a younger sister, I was 8 years younger. A younger sister, I expected or I wanted her to get up, to hug me, to kiss me, and she didn't move. So I had to go down on my knees, and I said, "What's wrong with you?" As I got so close to her and I saw her, I saw what's wrong with her. She couldn't get up. She was so skinny that she had no strength to get up. 75 pounds for a woman as big as I am. And so she looked at me and she said, "Where did you come from?" I said, "I'm coming from Hamburg." "But why? What kind of spa? What kind of summer resort were you in?" I looked so good to these other that she couldn't believe that I looked the way I did. So then she said, "I can't walk." And the Germans stopped bringing the food for distribution to the camp barracks. We have to go and get it in the kitchen area. So from now on, if you want me to live, you go and you get the food for me and for yourself. Sure enough, I had to do it. I did it. And thank God, it was only 6 weeks later that we were liberated when the British Army moved in on us, Liberation Day. And then we knew that everything is over. The war was over and we were free to go. Where to go? Nowhere to go. The poor thing, she had to be taken into the hospital. The day of the liberation, the camp gates opened up. You know, Bergen-Belsen had 3 big camps. Women's camp, the men's camp, and the gypsy camp. Hitler persecuted gypsies also. The only difference, he did not kill them. And the families stayed together. All the family was together. So as the gates opened, I said, okay, this is the time. I found one sister. Maybe I can find some more relatives. Maybe I can find my brother. And the miracle happened. I started walking for hours to get to the men's camp, to the place where I was told that people from the same city I was from, they staying in the same barrack. So as I was standing in the door shouting, "Anybody knows Bert? Anybody born?" I was asking my brother's name, maybe somebody knows him. So from the back, one gentleman in Hungarian, he says to me, "Yeah, he sleeps on the same cot I do." So I ran to him. "So where is he?" He looks at me and with a smirk on his face says, "He went to look for his sister to the other camp." So while I was looking for him, he was looking for me and my sister. So by the time I got back to the women's camp, they were sitting together. I have to tell you, I call it the miracle of the camps, because in Germany, in those days, there were about 300 camps all over Germany. That's beside Poland, okay? For 3 of us be reunited in the same camp, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. They had to go into the hospital, both of them. I started to work for the Red Cross a little bit. And later on, I decided I do want to go home. I do want to go to my mother's house and see maybe there is another miracle. I'm going to find my mother home. So I did go home. The house was there, the furniture, the pictures, not family pictures, the knickknacks, everything. But it was empty for me. Strange people lived in it. I couldn't bear the sight of being there all by myself. So as I was walking out, I said, you can keep all this. I'm not coming back to live here. However, when I was walking out, I saw a picture on the wall, an oval picture which my mother did, an embroidery. So I went straight to it, I picked it up, and I said, this one is mine, this I'm taking. And let me tell you, that's the only possession I have from my mother, the only thing. And I always promise I'm going to bring it along, and I always forget it. Next time. After the war, I didn't want to stay in the city I was born and I grew up. My sister and brother were both close to Prague in Czechoslovakia, so I followed them. That's where I met my husband to be. We knew each other since childhood. Would you please introduce yourself? My husband, Bill. And my sister lived on the same floor. We were together. However, our happiness didn't last too long because in 1947, the communists started taking over Czechoslovakia, and we didn't want to live under another dictatorship. So we decided that we have to get out from the country, get out from Europe. There was nothing good for us in Europe anymore. And we went to South America, to Chile, Santiago, the greatest people on the earth, at least for me at that time. They helped me morally. They were nice to us. My daughter was born there. Unfortunately, the communists followed me there also. Communist regime started, but before that, we came to the United States in 1963. I was reunited again with my sister and my brother. And the one daughter gave me 3 grandchildren. And I just have to tell you, all of you who have been born in this country, who have lived in this country, God only knows you should kiss the earth. It's the best there is. And hopefully it's going to remain the same. When I moved to Las Vegas, I made it my business to talk to children, to talk to grown-ups, anybody who asked me to talk about it, because it is important even today, after 62 years, that you should know about it. This was on a denial for 62 years. There were no textbooks teaching on the Holocaust. So here I am doing it. My aim and my request to you young ones, some of you will get to the White House one day maybe. You are the future of United States. Please remember me. Remember what I have to say. Do not let hatred take over you. Hatred is evil. Hatred kills. It's killing today. Brother against brother. We have it in Africa. We have it in Iraq. We just hope it doesn't come to the United States between us. But you are the one who have to take care of it. You are the one who have to fight for it. Fight for the goodness of people. And by the way, you read Anne Frank. That's what she said in her diary. I believe in goodness of people. We have to believe and we have to follow it. We have to teach it and we have to talk about it. There are so many hate groups in the United States. I was Friday in a middle school, and the teacher, who I have known also for 3 years, Miss Henry, she told me, I'm sorry to tell you, and I hope you don't see it, but one of the boys in my class has the swastika tattooed on his arm. So Hitler is still very popular, evidently, and the hate groups are growing. And you have to be the one to stay away from it and remember what it can bring to you. I thank you for listening. I told you it's not a nice story, but it's important. Thank you very much. I'm ready for questions. Is that yours? Where's mine? Oh, I almost took yours.
Taylor, here.
Thank you. Look at that. I'm matching. I'm making it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have no more hands. Okay, let me leave it here. Thank you. I'm sorry, too much emotions and too much allergy. Can I come closer? Or anybody? He is trying to prove that Hitler did not know what was happening in the Holocaust. Hitler did not order mass killing. Hitler did not order Jews to be killed. And this Mrs. Deborah Lipschitz, after reading his pamphlets, after listening to his stories, and after reading his history books, how he is distorting everything, she said, I cannot go on a trial to London. I don't have the money to defend myself. That's a lot of money. Emory University offered immediately, because it was so important to them that she should win the case. They offered immediately $25,000. The university. And then there were some collections made, and she did have the trial in 2001 in London. I am reading the book, which is called History on Trial. A book is about 450 pages. I think I'm going to finish it in 1 week. I can put it down. But my skin, I feel goosebumps the way this man is lying and the way he's saying. But she had a great, great defense team, and she did win. And he was, first of all, he was thrown out from the university. Second of all, they took away his title of historian because of the umpteen distortions and lies what he put in his books. So that, and he's not the only one. There were others one in Canada, one in Australia, and this is going on. You know, I had in the Gibson Middle School 2 weeks ago, I had 300 students, a conglomeration of students. And when I told them, okay, I want questions, one kid, did you ever see Hitler? So I told him, no, I didn't. He was not in my league. I wasn't in his league. He didn't come to the concentration camp to visit. No, I didn't. So I go on. I had other questions. 5 minutes later, another one. Did you see Hitler? Did you talk to him? I said, no, I just said. I never saw Hitler. And when the third one got up and asked me the same questions, I thought that I'm going to blow my mind. I realized that these kids are still taken and they are still admiring Hitler. Plus, on top of everything, I said, what am I doing here? They don't even listening. If 3 of them ask me the same question after listening to 2 answers, they're not even listening. So it was very frustrating, but it made me know that Hitler is still very popular because a lot of people made a hero out of him. And when the third one said, well, and what do you think about him? I said, I told you I don't hate, but I have the right to tell you. He was the biggest coward in the world. After what he did for so many million peoples, the war where so many millions were lost, the way he ran over countries. He didn't have the guts to confront justice. I said, he killed himself, he killed his wife, Eva Braun, and he killed his dog. That was his answer. So he must have been a terrible, terrible, bad coward. And this is it is my belief, that's my opinion. Okay, now let's go to questioning. Loud.
Did you ever think about writing a textbook about the Holocaust?
To what?
Have you ever thought about writing a...
No, my textbooks, when I come to the kids, I'm not a writer. But I gave my story and my background and my family's background. I gave it to my granddaughter. She's a writer, and she's going to do the book one day when I am gone. I told her, I don't want to see it, I don't want to read it, I know it. No, I don't. Maybe I should. Okay.
Are any of your ancestors still alive?
The only one. I'm the only one. My brother, who I found, and my sister, who I found, evidently they carried a lot of their problems, health problems from concentration camp. My brother was 54, and my sister was 46 when they passed away. So I have no family, no brother or sisters left. I'm the only survivor in my family. However, I have two cousins who are daughters of Holocaust survivors, my uncles. They live in Budapest, and we are holding on to our friendship and to our relationship. Okay, I'm coming.
Do you have any possessions of your brother and sister?
What?
Do you have anything like that, like from your brother and sister?
Yes, yes, from them, because they lived. See, we were together for a while, so we have pictures together, we have outing together. Plus, my sister had two boys who call me, the kids call me auntie, but his kids call me grandma. I was grandma to all five of them. One has two. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see them June the 15th. When I'm going, may I brag a little? My granddaughter is graduating. She's getting her PhD in UCLA. So I am very proud of it. So I do have a very close relationship with all of them. That's the reason I go to Texas, Houston, because my nephew is there. Yeah?
Do your children or grandchildren ever go to schools and talk about you?
No, but my granddaughter was the one who pushed me to do it. She's very interested in it.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Didn't you tell me there's a second generation speakers that's now in development?
The second generation, our Holocaust group has a second president beside Mr. Schuster. By the way, he's home, he's all right. Okay. The second generation is trying to take over what we're going to leave behind. So they're working a lot with us. So when we are gone, I'm 79, how many more can I go speak to the children? They're taking over, and they're going to present the stories. Very important that somebody should continue this. Okay, who was it? Hey, we know each other.
Before you went to a concentration camp, what were your favorite activities to do?
Active? Yeah. I was 16 and I was very active with boys. Maybe it's not right, but I think you're not 16 yet. You're going to remember me when you get to be 16. But beside that, I was interested in music, and my goal, you believe it or not, but God only knows that it's true, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. Only kindergarten. I just loved small children. Maybe that's the reason I love this class. Because I go to the high schools and It's different. You are my favorites. Music was but I could never pursue as anything. My brother did beautiful, beautiful. He played the violin. Okay, more. Coming.
Yeah. Before you went to the
Camp.
Before you went to the camps, how many schools did you go to? Like before you had to go to the non-public school.
I have started elementary school, and I went all the way. I think equivalent in United States, it's 10th or 11th grade by the time I was 16. It was a private Hebrew school, which actually was a paid school, which my mother could not afford. But I stayed there, and the reason for it was because my father, all those years when he was alive, he worked, and he was the one who established the Hebrew school. So they gave me kind of a scholarship to attend. That was my only schooling I had. Unfortunately, the Hebrew I learned, I forgot it all. Between all the languages that I had to learn in my life, I was born in Czechoslovakia. I was occupied by Hungary, then by Germany, then by Russia. And then I learned Spanish. You forget the old ones, and that's enough for me. Okay.
While you were in the concentration camp, did you ever make like any really close friends?
My closest friend was my cousin, who I showed you, because we had something in common, the family. And we used to sit and talk about it. And you know, something else, I hope you never learn what hunger is. But when you're hungry, all you talk about is food. Food! But you can't have. And you say to each other, you say, you remember my mother used to make, can you smell it? And we could smell it. We were so hungry, and we were so anxious to have something good that we could smell it. But close friends, no, none. I don't recall any other close friends that I had. Okay, more.
What did they feed you in the concentration camps?
What?
What did they feed you in the concentration?
Oh, okay. In the morning, we had black coffee. That was given us. With the coffee, you get your daily bread, and I mean daily bread. One slice, about this thick, of black bread, which is for the whole day, a tiny piece of margarine, and our best thing is the beets. You know, the beets have so much sugar, you don't realize when we eat it now, but I think that was what gave us the little carbohydrate what we needed to go on. So that was. At night when we came home from work, we got a bowl of soup. The bowl, you know, like a cereal bowl, a bowl of soup. Here and there, a couple vegetable pieces floating, sometimes a little potato floating also. That was our meal every single day. Not too good. No. No hamburger. Okay.
When you were in the concentration camps, did you wait, I just forgot it.
That was a good question to ask, the one you wanted to ask about the...
Oh, did you have the tattoo?
No. That's a very good question. I'm coming. A lot of people who arrived in Auschwitz were tattooed. However, later years, as Hitler evidently saw that he is losing the war, he didn't have any more tattooing done. So by 1944, when I got to camp, very few tattooing, only the ones who remained in Auschwitz and did not go out into Germany to work were tattooed. I didn't get no tattoo. Thank God. Okay.
Did you ever get any sicknesses while you were in the concentration camps?
Anything what?
Sicknesses? Did you ever get sick? Like,
Illnesses.
illnesses?
Do you ever have any serious illnesses when you're in concentration camps?
How come I can't understand the question?
Were you ever sick? Were you ever sick? Like
Oh, sickness.
Yeah, sicknesses.
Oh, I wasn't. Thank God I wasn't. However, a lot of them were. And like I told you, when diarrhea hit us, you don't get medication. You have to do by yourself. However, in our camp of 1,200 in Hamburg, nobody, but nobody died. That's how good we had it. That's a big, big thing that nobody died. Because most of the other camps, there was a lot of that. There was plenty of them in Bergen-Belsen. The typhus, which is a very contagious sickness, was raging. The typhus infects your body because you can't clean yourself, you can't take showers. I didn't see a toothbrush, I didn't see a toothpaste for a whole year, and I didn't see a bar of soap for a whole year. So your body tends to build or get lice. We don't even know in the United States what it is. But your hair is full of it, your body is full of it, and they infect your body. And that killed a lot of people because they didn't get medication. They did not get disinfected. But thank God, as I say, I went through it without any sickness. Okay, more questions? See?
How you said you would eat your dinner after you were done working. What did you do for work?
After the war?
After, for working.
What was your work?
I didn't work too much. Yes, I did. My daughter was born in 1948. First of all, I came to a country where I didn't know the language. But I learned and I worked anything I could get a hold of. In a dress shop, where my boss told me, the way you are here, you should pay me because you're not doing any good to me. My language wasn't good. Then later on, my husband got into his own profession. He's a photographer by profession. And he did have a studio, so I was helping out him. Later on, I worked in a very big firm in Santiago, where I was the cashier and the bookkeeper, and so on and so forth. I always made a living. Okay. Who? Yes.
What would happen if Jews were caught
Okay.
outside without
I'm coming
their
next.
yellow cars?
What?
What would happen if Jews were caught outside without their yellow stars?
As long as nobody knew that I was Jewish, I wouldn't have been punished. But I would have been severely punished if a German catches me knowing that I'm Jewish and I don't wear the Jewish star. It was a must. We had to identify ourselves. Answers? Yes. You next.
When you were in Hamburg and you had to go to work to rebuild that part of Germany, how did that make you feel that the Germans had put you in this camp and now you're working to rebuild?
I have to tell you, for some reason, my compassion to them has not changed. These civilian people, Germans, were suffering. So for me to build and to do it, it was all right. I didn't question that. However, it wasn't all right that Hamburg, being a port, being in the region of Germany where rain is on daily basis, and you stand outside the whole day, and you come home and your overall is soaking wet, and you put it on the same soaking wet overall next day. That was terrible. And I think my arthritis has something to do with it, probably. But as much as the German people after the war, most of them, were saying, we are innocent, we didn't know anything, that is a lie. Germany was full of concentration camps. They were most of the time outskirts the city, but they couldn't miss it. Like we were taken into Hamburg on daily basis on the tramway. How can they close their eyes and not see us? That we are not German, that we are Jews because we had the yellow star, that we were shaven head and all that. So it was definitely a lie. They did know.
In the concentration camp, did anyone try to steal your food?
What, babe?
When you got food, when you're in concentration camp, did anyone try to steal your food?
There was only so much what you got, food. One bowl of soup. That's what you want to know?
He wanted to know if anyone tried to steal your food while you're in the camp. Did other people in the camp try to steal food from each other?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. When you're hungry and you are one of the ones who like to steal or want to steal, they try. Most of us, including me, once you got your bread, you finished it. This way nobody can steal it. The bowl of soup, you finished it. Some people try to save half and half. There were many times they were stolen. They put it under the mattress, under the pillow, didn't help. A thief finds it, no matter what. Okay.
Let Anthony, he doesn't ask for that, okay?
Who?
Anthony.
Yes, okay. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you travel on when you were looking for your brother?
What did I what?
What was your transportation when you were
Oh, yeah, transportation. Europe, after the war, every single country, we didn't pay bus fare, we didn't pay train fare, horse and buggy, you name it. Sometimes they gave us sometimes even bicycle because they knew that we were ex-inmates, that we were ex-prisoners, Holocaust survivors, coming home from Germany. And that's exactly the way we traveled. We traveled on horse and buggy, on buses, on train. I mean, my hometown was about 2,500 to 3,000 miles away from Hamburg, from Bergen-Belsen. So you do a lot of traveling. But everywhere in Europe, they had free transportation for all the Holocaust survivors. Beside that, every YMCA, every synagogue, every church had rooms with blankets and mattresses for us to sleep overnight. The YMCA opened their doors completely. Food and lodging, completely free. We didn't have any money. I didn't have a penny on me. I had what I had on, that was it. It answers the question, right? Good. Yes?
When you were in a concentration camp after a year, were you liberated by the Americans, or did they somehow, what happened?
I was liberated by the British.
By the British, okay.
Yeah.
So
And the British Army did such a great, great job. First of all, evidently they learned that giving us food, any amount, has to be a very mild, because our stomachs were empty for so long that they learned that other camps, they gave, the Americans were way too good. You know, baked beans and ham made a lot of people die. They were liberated, but they died because of the food. So they watched very carefully, but most than nothing. The second day of the liberation, the camp, we had running water. We had no water in Bergen-Belsen. So they had pipes running through the whole camp with running water. Plus, every British soldier had a tank on his shoulder. It was with DDT, it's a disinfectant, and they were walking in the camp, and wherever they saw a prisoner, they would start spraying the white powder disinfectant, because we were full of lies, our garment. So that killed them, and that stopped the typhus, the terrible infection. So this is the greatest thing that I can talk to you about for a liberator to do.
Can I, we have to sort of like, we have like probably the world's longest speak out in 2 minutes. But can you just tell them, because that brought up something that reminded me, which you told the first 2 years, about how you almost drowned in sauerkraut. This will be the last thing, and then we'll...
Well, it goes with the food, yes. Yeah. It is important. The day the camp was liberated, everybody was running, everybody who could run. We were going places. And all of a sudden, I see a whole bunch of people going toward the huge, but huge, like a barn, which was the German depository for their food. So naturally, they tore down the gate, and we all were pushed in slowly into the barn, and everybody was robbing, taking what they could. I ended up, I don't know how, by pushing probably, I ended up in front of a sauerkraut barrel. I said, sauerkraut it be? Should it be sauerkraut? And as much as I could, I was stuffing it in the bib, on the overall, and everywhere. But all of a sudden, people saw me taking something out from the barrel, so they came right after me, and pushing me, and all of a sudden I realized that I am being drowned in the sauerkraut because everybody is on top of me. And so I started kicking with my leg. I said, listen, I am liberated, I want to live. But I almost got drowned in the sauerkraut, and I love sauerkraut with all that. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you very much, All right, we're going to end today the way we end every day. So all guests who are here, please participate.
I learned something from him.
Yeah, he does this with us all.